I'm Loki, I'm guy.
Imagine, if you are so capable, a world not unlike our own, where civil war, accidental genius, and willingly offering up your body as food during a losing siege is considered entirely pedestrian. A world where there was an international war over the right to just say no that the teetotalers lost. Twice. I know. It's too crazy to be anything but real life. Now, imagine if this was also a world of furries, alchemy magic, and a Taoist version of the Second Amendment. Gunfire Reborn is a first-person shooter roguelite/like/light that will get you accused of everything from communism and post-necrotic matrimony all the way up to zoophilia. Which, depending on your political alignment, may all be true. Set in Imperial China as seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Gunfire Reborn is a looter shooter in the style of Borderlands. But as it wasn't made by the people who made Aliens, Colonial Marines, and Duke Nukem Forever, it's actually fun. It's also a world of anthropomorphic animals. Animals, but more homo. Animals, but more human-like. Disgusting, I know.
Hypocrite! Yes.
LA animals, to be specific. In this world, even the swords run on bullets, and the legions of hell are actively assaulting the material plane. At least, I think it's the material plane. It could be the spirit realm, maybe a sort of Taoist purgatory, Baltimore on a slow Monday. I'm really not sure, and the translation quality is not helping. As a rogue, it doesn't explain shit until after you're killed by it. This pleases me. It's a game of try shit, get hit. Get good, get hit anyway. Accidentally become a god, and then screw yourself over. Rinse and repeat, and this is starting to sound like Stockholm Syndrome. As a rogue, everything outside of character skill pools, level theme order, and bosses are random. I think. I'm not about to data mine this to check, and even if I did, I can't read nerd Mandarin. Hell, I can barely read English. Even the limited gun selection, and I do mean limited in the loosest sense of the word, is RNG based. You can get the same gun twice, but that doesn't mean it's the same gun twice. Huh? For example, this is a porcupine. There are many like it, but this one is objectively better. Yes, you can upgrade any firearm, but all guns are not created equal. Generally speaking, if you get two guns of the same model, the one you picked up later will have better secondary buffs, known as inscriptions. There are 4 types of damage in Gunfire Reborn, each interacting with the 3 health types in different ways. Shields are the only health type that regenerates naturally, being a magical barrier around the user like a second skin. They reduce damage from corrosion and fire damage while being weak to lightning. Armor represents armor. It's weak to corrosion while being resistant to both fire and lightning. Health represents the soft, tender meat at the center of most living things. It's weak to fire, as anyone who's tried to cook the freshest long pig can tell you that the screaming only gets worse for a little while before they go limp over the flame. And true damage is true damage. It's 1-to-1 on everything. Your main source of buffs come from occult scrolls, which I'm pretty sure is not only a mistranslation, but banned by the powers that be in Beijing. A more apt description would perhaps be alchemical talismans, as none of these are giving me the option to sacrifice the humors of a virgin to our lord and master of the West Wind, the Pillsbury Doughboy. You mainly get these scrolls through vaults, challenge dungeons hidden inside the walls of the main areas. These can range from gunfights, wave survival, protect the objective, and how old is the version of CS you first played. Figuring out what the scrolls actually do, however, can be less than straightforward for English speakers. For an example of my shared obsession with the Chinese over confusingly written prose, fish or bear paw. Halves damage, but damage is dealt twice. Most people, my 102 IQ self included at first, thought that this was just taking extra steps to get the same outcome. Wrong! 2 hits means 2 chances to inflict status effects or land a lucky shot, a random burst of damage that other games would call a critical hit. But a crit is what headshot damage is called in this game. Did I mention it has questionable English writing yet? Some scrolls synergize well, some cancel each other out, and some actively work together to screw you over. But unlike many other rogues, you can dump any perks you don't like, unless it's a curse scroll. And because you fail a spot check, it turns out that they have crazy glue on them, so you're stuck with them. You can also willingly inflict these on yourself too. If you find the right chest, you can take a curse scroll in exchange for various weapon upgrades. This isn't really worth it. You don't know what you're gonna get out of the deal, and weapon upgrades are pretty cheap, so why do you want to gimp yourself for one is plainly baffling to me. Meet the furry horde. The good one, that is. Technically, the general consensus among Taoists is that the Tao doesn't give a shit. Morals are merely the byproduct of human experience and social constructs. Or, to put it in a language your typical consumerist can understand, the Tao is the equivalent of the Starbucks latte. While it may protect you from police brutality and the realization of your desperate need for therapy, it can also lead you down the road to addiction, environmental devastation, dead Colombians, and crippling diarrhea. Actually getting into the characters, whose names I am going to mispronounce, you have Crown Prince, alchemical ambassador to the ethereal areas.
Amen.
He specializes in elemental damage, with a particular fondness for Eau de Walmartwerker, a scent so pungent it can melt iron. His special is, as one of the most well-rounded characters, he's really kind of trash. There's not much he can do that no one else can, but he is cute, unlike the next character, Dao, who looks like a human in rabbit face. Where I come from, if you look like this, you either have syphilis or Michael Jackson's plastic surgeon on speed dial. In spite of having a sword on her back, swords in her lore, and swords for a special move, her gimmick isn't swords, it's DACA. And her grenade? Inflicting simping on the enemy. Kind of a crutch character, but if you want the real more DACA approach, then meet the new nanny dog Ao Bai, a part-time Rottweiler and full-time Unabomber. He's a cross between Hong Kong cinema and... His grenades are... grenades. The exploding kind. For a special, he uses a gun. With your other gun. You've got two of them. God bless being a Davidian. You might be worried about his low shields, but he doesn't need them. He can just take in the chi of others in order to heal himself after it violently leaves their body whenever he... Lilo? His gimmick is simple. He's a simp.
Sniper.
Tiger.
He does two things well. Headshots and tasing nerds. His grenades are lightning bolts that excel at mass shield cracking, with a special that's great for cracking skulls. Ching-yan, otherwise known as Wuxia Falco. He's something of a Reddit intellectual, eschewing alchemy simply because it has a tangential connection to the concept of a higher power other than himself. Ironic, given most Redditors are in a losing battle with the weakest force. He uses armor instead of shields, which don't regenerate, but his special attack allows him to pickpocket armor mid-flight. It's really not that impressive. Most Romanians can do this by age 4, and their wings are purely vestigial. He's all about close-range burst damage, assaulting bystanders, and complaining he's better than everyone else around him for his arbitrary skepticism.
Bird up.
Qian Shi, the meth turtle from Florida. He takes Ching Yan's up-close and personal style and goes full Viking with it. His grenade isn't a lightning bolt, jar of farts, or the concentrated sex appeal of Twitch streamers. Qian Shi casts fists. The faster he moves, the harder the fist. His special is going full Usain Bolt, but slapping people to death with a riot shield. With perks built around going faster and throwing hands, he's basically what would happen if your average riot cop wasn't morbidly obese. Jing Jie. Literally Sun Wukong in a weighted jacket. His grenades? Corsets made from his own hair. His ultimate? A stick. This might seem basic, and it is, but he's just built different. You see, most other characters' ultimate skill has a set damage value. Sure, you can increase it with ascension perks, but even then it's still fixed at certain values. Jing's isn't. His is based on weapon level, making the damage cap theoretically infinite. His grenades also buff his current weapon, encouraging a playstyle of rotating between grenades, guns, and ultimates. It's a bit like playing Dark Souls 3, where at its best it feels like a finely tuned dance, and at its worst feels like getting a colon exam from Freddy Krueger.
Get over here.
Last, but absolutely not least, is Lee. Lee is small, short even, but this just makes her chi more dense. Lee follows the FBI philosophy of burn it down, and if that doesn't work, blow it up. Her grenades are meteors, skills increase fire damage, and her special is a Hadoken if Ryu drank 2 liters of kerosene before the fight. She's also unique in that her ultimate isn't on a strict cooldown, but instead works on an energy pool mechanic. This thing can easily one-shot 90% of the game. You can also play co-op with up to 3 other people, which in my experience makes everything below the highest difficulty trivial. The only part that's really harder with everyone else is landing headshots with the awful lag from connecting to people in Hong Kong who are using Burger King Wi-Fi. As for presentation, the game looks fine. The backgrounds are desaturated and the characters stand out. The HUD is clean but pretty, and the sound and music are also fine. There is some clever enemy design, such as the Kung Fu monkeys and penguin cavalry, but overall the game just doesn't stand out aside from the furries. Don't get me wrong, it's still good looking and well above average for most games in the genre, it's just not remarkable.
Conche tu madre hasta cuando vaya a hacer algo productivo por tu vida, maldito culiao.
But it works where it counts. You know where and what everything is and how it's trying to violate you. And it's a hell of a lot better than filling the screen with so much noise that your pupils start to prolapse after 1 round. And I can't say anything bad about the map themes, which take you from an emperor's tomb, the Ottoman Empire, Japan, but everyone's a catfish. I feel like this is political commentary somehow, and ending with Sweden on a warm summer's day. There is one thing about it that does really stand out though, and that's the weapons. I cannot and will not go over all of them, but to rattle off a few of my favorites: miniguns, pump-action double-barrel shotguns, shotguns that burst after they hit the target, a bow with a 2-stage heat-seeking flechette round, a shotgun that eats goldfish, elementally infused throwing trowels, a chameleon with acid reflux that you reload by force-feeding it Tums, a sniper rifle that runs on snails and shoots razor blades, catch these Iron Man hands, the fire hazard from Bowser's Castle, a Jian with a battery in the handle, grenade launcher lizards, the bastard child of an MG42 and a Chris Vector, Eddie Murphy,
Dishonor on you! Dishonor on your cow!
an 8-shot 6-shooter with flaming bullets, the gun from the Fifth Element, a bamboo M4, Thor's spear, telekinetic needles, Halo 5, an understatement. It's crazy, it's cathartic, and it's a better game than Gearbox could ever imagine making. Remember, you have the legal right to defend yourself with lethal force in most parts of the world. So make sure you plant a lizard in that other kin's hand after you do what must be done. Have a wonderful night.